Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, I am back after a short break. I had people, by the way, messaging me saying, literally saying, are you okay? Is your health okay? I haven't seen you for a while, a bit worried about you. So yes, I probably should have announced that I was going to have a little bit of a rest. Nothing to do with health actually, several reasons. It's mainly to do with work. There is a slight 2-week gap, I think, while I was waiting for a couple of kits to turn up as well. But yeah, nothing to be worried about. Thank you for your concern, though. Those of you that are showing some worry that I might have disappeared forever. No, I'm back. You're not that lucky. Anyway, wanted to give you a review today. We'll get into that in a minute now. But first, one of the other things I have been doing in my couple of weeks off, I've been doing some modelling. So I'm going to show you my Takom Sea Dart and Sea Wolf. Well, it's actually Sea Dart I've been building so far. And we're nearly done actually, it's almost completed. Just not in terms of paint job and weathering, but basic construction is almost done. So let's have a look at this. So we've got here, this is the basic, the base section, which has got the auto loading mechanism with the covers on it. And this is the actual, it's got parts still not quite in here yet, so it's not glued in or anything, but you can get a feel from this that this Takom kit is, yeah, it's quite impressive. The only thing that has sort of let it down a little bit, it's got wonderful detail, the moulding is just gorgeous. That's the actual base with the 2 missile launcher systems, the gimbling system on it. And here's the missiles themselves. The Sea Dart, 2 of them, and they're big, aren't they? 35th scale, you know. And I've got to say Takom have done, yeah, quite a nice job with this. The only thing that I would say, 2 things actually about this kit that were small negatives. These fins, and it's beautifully detailed. Look at the rocket pipe at the back, the jet motor. But these fins are very fiddly, much more fiddly than I expected, to be honest. Every fin is separate. They're not the best locating, I've got to be honest. You're going to have to do a little bit of work on them. Not in terms of the shape, it's more the base of where they actually sort of go in. But yeah, quite impressed. Obviously we've got 2 identical ones of those. So 2 negatives really, only. These sort of pips, the way that they go in on these things like the fins, are not the greatest, they're not that positive. If you're not careful, you end up with gaps. I've had to use quite a bit of sprue glue, some more than others, but the end result I think will be really nice. The one thing that did annoy me though, and I think I've got a photo, I'm just going to dig out the photo so I can actually show you what I'm talking about, because it'll make a lot more sense if I show you the picture. We had some issues with the way that they placed some of these parts on the sprue. I'm going to have trouble finding it now. I can just see this coming. Hold on a second. I wasn't quite prepared, obviously, was I? Here we go. Right, yes, I have it. So here we are. Look at the way. See if I can get this on the screen for you. Look at the way that they actually, the sprue gates, attachment points are designed here. Now that is not the best. Look at the shape of them. It's one of these, a bit like Tamiya have started doing, where they have it on not 1 surface but 2, so it goes round the corner. Same here. And I've got a second photo. That's probably a better picture actually. Let's get that one focused. Now can you see that? So you've got this here. You've got it faces onto the top of the surface it's contacting, and onto the side of it as well. Same there. That's clear enough. Can I get that a bit clearer? Yeah, that's fairly clear. Maybe not the best photograph, that's better at that end. You see it there, can't you? So it's really rather fiddly to clean up. You end up having to clean 2 surfaces instead of 1. And I have to be honest, quite a lot of the parts on the sprues were like that. So and I know Tamiya have started doing this on 1 or 2 of their kits as well, although I think they've done it a little bit cleaner perhaps. And somebody did tell me, I think it was James Mower, and he said he'd been doing the Takom Yamato turret, I think it was, that big turret, gun turret's huge. And he said, and he was right, he said something about the plastic's very hard, and it's quite hard work to sort of you know, to file it down, to sand it, etc. Yeah, that's true. I found the same here actually. So this design of these sprue contact gates, the way they've got them going sort of around a bend, that's a bit of a pain because you've got to be very careful to get it right and not cut into the actual part or damage the part when you're trying to clean it up. So, you know, so far so good. In terms of the build, so far I give it sort of 8 out of 10, which is quite good because I often build these kits and think, oh dear, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. And it's not bad, it's not bad, I don't want to be too negative about it. You know, the finish and the details of these parts is excellent. I've got to say the moulding's lovely, especially on where all the rivets and bolts are and things. Can you just see that? I'll zoom it in one more time. Just have a look at some of these little, the launch tower system with the gimbal. Like a turret almost, isn't it? But look at some of the detail work. And again, they have put one or two where they've got the, you know, you may just be able to see that there is, my camera's not having a good day today, I don't know what the problem is. Come on, that's it. You may just be able to see that there's one or two spots where you can just make out where the contact point was. They put them on the face of, here for example, they've got them on the face, which was a bit of a silly place to put them. Some strange choices have been made, I've got to say. But look at the detail with the bolts and things. Look at that. They've done it really, really nicely, in fairness. So it's going together quite well. As you can see, it's not, I've not actually glued any of this in. This is all loose at the moment. But it's going to be sorted very, very soon. And so far so good. So the C-dart system is almost done, and we're almost at the stage of final assembly and painting. And then we can get on some decals and the weathering, and then the Sea Wolf, which I think is going to be much more exciting. Anyway, that's so you know. Somebody again sent me a message last week saying, meaning well, I'm sure he meant well, but he said, oh, that's a great review you've done, but do you ever build any of them? And it's like, you only have to look at the channel, you know, you don't have to go back more than a few weeks and you can see that I've built lots of stuff. So I do get a little bit frustrated when people ask what is a bit of a silly question really. We have a generation that seem to want answers to things without having to bother doing any homework. You know, they don't want to do any work, and they don't want to study anything, and they don't want to check anything. They just want an instant response for nothing, for no effort in. Well, anyway, I was very polite to this chap, and I actually gave him a link to some of the what's your favourite model, I think it was, where there's a variety of my work, fairly recent work. So anyway, there we go. I'm not complaining about people showing an interest, but I just wish that they would do their research first. Anyway, not going to moan too much because my subscribers, I think he was a new subscriber, so cheers to him, and we welcome that always, of course. And what am I on today? This evening I'm drinking it's Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon from the Maipo Valley, but I can't remember the brand, sorry, so kind of indicates I may have had a sip of this already, doesn't it? Anyway, cheers, your good health. And then we're going to get into something very special in a moment that I think you're going to enjoy. Supposing I said to you, I have here in a box, I've got the helicopter kit that we've all been waiting for, something very, very special. No, not that damn Seeking, no. That would be too obvious, wouldn't it? Something very special, I said. Of course, it's the monstrous Sikorsky CH-54 with the M-121 bomb. I've just knocked the camera flying. ICM Strike Back. Airfix and they're Seeking. It's very nice, don't get me wrong. Very nice. But this, I was joking with somebody and I said, everybody's doing videos about this Airfix Seeking, you know. And somebody said, are you going to do one? And I said, no. And yes, I was invited. I'd give full credit to Airfix. They were very nice to me. They invited me to their open day, launch day for the Seeking. But it wasn't really for me. It's not a particular favourite subject of mine, that's all. I'm already seeing there might be one or two issues with the kit, nothing major at all. It's a good kit, fairly competitively priced, I think, better than some of the ones they brought out recently. But they were very nice. They invited me to their open day and I couldn't make it, and I couldn't make it because of work anyway, but it was also, they do, you know, sometimes they have these events and they're all in the south and it's really difficult. If you're further north like me, and I'm not that far north, but it's difficult, you know, to commit to something, and they didn't really explain it, but I was sworn to secrecy and I kept my promise. I told Dale I wouldn't say a word, and I didn't even tell my closest modelling friends a word about it, so there you go, you can rely on me, trust me folks. But this is the helicopter we've all been waiting for. This is the mother of all choppers, look at this! It's an absolute massive monster, and it comes with the mother of all bombs. Well, sort of. So this bomb, actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this because it's interesting, and we sometimes call it the original daisy cutter bomb, which is kind of the nickname that this generation of bomb has been given. But technically, it's not the daisy cutter. I think that was the BLU-82 that came later, slightly bigger and had a slightly different makeup. Look carefully at that bomb, because it is basically, if you look very carefully, you'll see this. It's basically the front of a British tall boy bomb from World War II. And it was developed from that. It's a 10,000-pound bomb with no tail, obviously. It's delivered, has this big spike probe on the front, which is basically the detonator, fuse detonator. And the idea of the concept is here. And I know that some of you have seen this basic kit already, but not this version. The idea is, during the Vietnam War, the Americans needed, because of their strategy, which, to be honest, turned out to be kind of wrong, not a great strategy in the end, but they needed to create landing zones for their helicopters. So for their Hueys bringing in the troops, they needed to drop the troops where they wanted to drop them. And this wasn't possible, of course, because many areas were totally it's a forested country, basically. Huge amounts of jungle and forest everywhere. And the idea of this bomb was that it would be dropped and create an immediate landing zone by absolutely totaling all the foliage, which it duly did. However, I did mention it, and I haven't read. This has just arrived, and I haven't read even what's on the side. So I'm telling you this just from a bit of research I did. However, I can tell you that in the end, it was considered to be a success, but a sort of short-term success, but a long-term failure, because the biggest issue was that maybe the goalposts changed, I don't know, but the American military decided that when they dropped these, and there's two problems. One was that the helicopter's range very short, because it's a very big, thirsty monster, obviously, and we'll get into that shortly. But the bomb was only really big enough and effective enough to clear a zone, a space, a landing zone, in fact, amongst all the dense foliage that was big enough for about 3 choppers, and they wanted it to be big enough for 5. So this is why they developed this later bigger, even more monstrous BLU-82, which was slightly bigger, and that became the one that was adopted as the daisy cutter and sort of gained the name more, which I think is why ICM have not used that name. But some people still call this the daisy cutter. It's basically its function, really, rather than the individual version. But it's quite a monster, isn't it? And this is it's going to knock your seeking into a cocked hat, Airfix. What are you thinking of? This is a proper helicopter. Look, anyway, let's have a look. This has literally arrived. It's completely sealed. Just come from Kyiv to my door. I believe I'm one of the first people in the UK to get my hands on it. So let's have a look. Made in Ukraine, of course. Read you what's on the side. Kit number is 53055. And it says here, it's probably going to say the same thing. CH-54A heavy helicopter was successfully used by the US Army in Vietnam. During the war, it carried out a variety of weapons, ammunition, vehicles, including excavators, bulldozers, trucks, boats, and of course, what do they call it, container units, vehicles, etc, etc. It was also used as a carrier for the M-121 super heavy bomb. Such bombs were dropped in order to quickly clear forests and in order to create the helipad. This allowed for a shorter landing time and a more flexible response to a tactical situation. So, in other words, they sent a couple of squads in to clear an area, and they got into a firefight with the Viet Cong, for example. And then the US Army would be, perhaps in an emergency, would say, well, we've got to get these guys out, And then they would send this in, drop it in a convenient zone, but where there's no landing spot, and it would just, it kind of just almost nuked the whole area and just defoliated it completely. And it would just atomise trees, a really powerful weapon. It says, for these tasks it was partially upgraded. The rear hull and tail stabilisers were removed. This is the tall boy I was talking about. Also a parachute was added to slow its fall. so the helicopter can get out of the way. Yeah. The bombs were also equipped with elongated nose detonators to prolong a blast height of about 3 meters above the ground. Because obviously if the blast is above the ground, it will be far more effective for a greater circumference than if it's detonated actually on the ground. These upgraded bombs were used until they were out of stock, the last being used on the 8th of August in 1970. This box contains an unassembled plastic model kit. The length is 774 millimeters. Yeah, 3/4 of a meter, more than 3/4 of a meter. This is big, and it includes 604 parts. Oh, I'm not sure if I'll be building this one soon, but it sounds fantastic. The very latest kit, brand new from our friends at ICM in Kyiv. Well, let's have a look at what they've sent me, because this is going to be a monster. On the other side, show you the artwork. Oh, such a big thing to manoeuvre. We have got a couple of different versions in terms of markings, and you can see this amazing bomb, this huge sort of proboscis trigger mechanism, and as they said, obviously that's designed to make it detonate before it physically, the bomb itself, gets to the ground. And it says, it looks like, what does that say? Oh, there's some comedy on the other one. See if I can show you this one. There's a bit of comedic value coming in here. If I can zoom you in a bit more. It says something about giving you a headache or something. We'll get into that in a minute when we see the decals. But yes, these were very, very powerful weapons indeed, and consequently had to be handled with great care, I'm sure. And I'm going to handle this with great care. I'm very grateful to my friends at ICM in the Ukraine for sending me this, obviously. And we will have a look what exactly we have got here. So we've got quite a lot of tape on this one. We've got extra 3 tapes along each side. So just bear with me a second. I'll get to that. Let's see what we have got. That's those 3. I've got to be honest, the postman wasn't my regular postman. This actually came with parcel force. I didn't handle this with great care. It wasn't perhaps packed as well as it might have been, not this part of it, but there was another kit with it, another couple of kits actually. And the postman dropped it on the floor as if it was nothing, just because he couldn't scan it. And I told him off and I said, listen, that's very fragile, do you mind? Stupid man. I'll have to talk to ICM and see if I can just ask him to put fragile stickers on it. But, you know, people pick something up that's very light and they think it has no value, and it's not. Suddenly, if it's not heavy, it mustn't be very valuable. What a stupid attitude that is. But anyway, there we go. So, oh, what's that? There's 2 boxes. This is very unusual. I haven't reviewed this any versions of this kit, so it's completely new to me. But we appear to have a double box. Oh, glad I got my gloves on. It gives me that grip. There you go, 2 boxes. Okay, let me just pop that over there. By the way, some of the sharp-eyed amongst you saw that cardboard box at the beginning. You thought it was an Airfix, didn't you? I bet you did, because it's actually an Airfix transport box, in fairness, that I was disguising this with. So we have, we've got what looks like a lot of rotors, 1 bag. Put that out there. Pop that over there. I like the idea of the double boxes, that's quite cool. Put that there. It's a bit unexpected. And then we've got what is obviously all the other parts in a separate box, and this time we've got 3 bags. One's the daisy cutter bomb, or the M-121 bomb I should say to be more accurate. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, it's been quite a journey already now. I just got the box open. Right, let's move these to one side. Big clear part. Everything's as big as this. It's a monster. 35th scale. What a monster. So, I need a drink. I'm exhausted already. Anyway, I hope you're all I hope you're all surviving okay, and I mean that quite literally in some cases, because we've got this incredible summer that we've got. The UK, sort of northern France, Belgium, Holland are getting the most horrible, and Scandinavia too, getting the most horrible weather. You know, British Isles and Ireland, and we're all getting this sort of Atlantic low weather. And then of course in southern France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and the islands in the Med and Greece and all these other southern European countries are getting the most horrendous heat wave. I've never been a fan of going to hot countries in the middle of summer. I've never done it. I've always gone winter, autumn or spring, and I'm quite glad, because when you see what the weather can do, I mean, people say it's global warming, but I don't know about that, because we're not getting much of it in the UK. We had, those of you that follow the channel will remember me sweltering when I had my 600th video celebration, and it was we got this heat wave then. So I'm guessing it's kind of like it's fly annoying me. It's almost like reversed, you know. And I think that Southern Europe wasn't really getting it the same, and now they are. But it's, you know, people are dying. It's really nasty. So anyway, we've got our flags out. We've got Portugal's flag has appeared. We've got the flag of Scotland and Wales has appeared. We've got Spain, who I think were at the end and probably weren't seen last time, and we've got our friends here in Denmark. And by the way, that's very pertinent, they've come to the front, because I haven't got them yet, but I've got some new glasses on the way, and they are Danish glasses. So I like my glasses and my bacon from Denmark. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to have a slurp of this and then I'm going to get on with it. Now then. Start off with, zoom out. Oh yes, well here we go. Olive green then is obviously the recommended paint for this one. And it's ICM's acrylics again. And then they've got their varnishes being offered as well. And then over here, it's just showing you the primers and the general sort of advert for all their lovely paints that they do, which we haven't had a chance to sample properly yet, but we will. Yes, ICM do have a habit of they do put the exact same data, technical data, descriptive data that's on the box I've read out to you. That's actually repeated here. But what I love about it, it's kind of a shame. In a way, I wonder if they should put a bit less of it on the box, just a briefer version, and then have the full description here, a bit like Tamyar do. But what I do love about ICM, apart from the obvious things about the plastic, etc., is the fact that they bother to put all the technical specification of the subject, the vehicle or whatever, here. So I'm going to read you some of these out, because this is a crazy helicopter. Must be quite a chance to fly this thing. Fuselage length in metres, 21.5. That's massive. So what's that? 65 feet long, is it? It's incredible. Height in metres, 5.67, so it's nearly 6 metres tall. Like the height of 3 men, isn't it? Empty weight, 7.8 tonnes. Takeoff weight, up to 19,000 tonnes. Sorry. In kilograms, not tonnes. I'm getting a little bit confused here. I'm going to confuse everybody else as well. So kilograms, 7,007.8 tonnes, 19 tonnes takeoff weight. That's heavy, isn't it? Wow. Takeoff weight of the M-121 bomb is 4,500 kilos, which is 10,000 pounds. So this is again like the tall boy 10,000 pound bomb. 2 Pratt & Whitney engine, T-73s, and a maximum speed of 203 kilometres an hour. It's not slow, is it? That's not 130 miles an hour. That's pretty rapid for a big, ungainly thing like this. Cruising speed 169, so that's about 100 miles an hour, isn't it? 110. Wow, very impressive. Anyway, let's have a look. Let's show you the pictures. Enough of me. Let's get cracking and have a proper look at this. This is going to be more interesting watching this than watching 55 Sea King videos, I think you'll find. Yeah. Well, did you actually think it was the Sea King, the Airfix Sea King? Don't worry, Airfix, don't feel offended. I shall do a good review for you very soon on something else. It's coming soon. Right, here we go. Now then, Excedrin? What's all this about? This is this thing that goes on the side of the bomb, the actual graffiti. Excedrin headache. Am I missing something here? Excedrin headache. Is Excedrin a headache drug or something? Anyway, look at all the instruments you've got for your instrument panel. That's a decal. That's quite nice, isn't it? And then you've got, look at that, Big Mother on the bomb. So there's lots of abusive sort of graffiti being used on these bombs. Yeah, I mean they are amazing devices and very, very dangerous. You don't want one of those dropping on your house, that's for sure. Right, okay, if you bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to put that to the side. I'm going to have to organise myself here. I think I should have put my little champagne table out. Had I done so, we'd have more room, I think, anyway. So, starts off with the sprue mat, and you've got this big sort of frame, you know, it's like a skeletal frame, isn't it, this Sikorsky. So quite a lot of large parts that are reinforced, lots of rivets. Only one piece there they're not going to use, so it looks like they're going to use most of the chopper. This great big riveted panel section that makes up the forward cockpit outer, the exterior of the fuselage, and then we've got lots and lots of plastic. Look over here, wow! Now this is not a cheap kit, I've got to tell you. Let me just should have said this at the beginning, really. So this is retailing. It's around about in the UK, approximately 130, 135 pounds. So but you do get a lot of plastic, you know. I mean, it sort of reminds me of something like your big Airfix Spitfire 24 scale or your Tamiya 32nd scale kits. There's lots of plastic here, really. Oh yes, that's very nice. So, flick on, and then you got your clear parts. Of course, there's some major glass house in the front of this aircraft because the visibility has to be very, very good. And then you got your M-121 little bombs, or daisy cutter if you prefer. Impressive, impressive. So, I'll try and keep this brief because there's a lot to get through here. A heck of a lot to get through, and we need to crack on. Now then, so you're building up your floor in the cockpit here, and you go straight into your instrumentation section for the pilot. All these switches and trim instruments that go between the pilot and the co-pilot. Attaching those together here. And then we've got our what is that? Yeah, this is the only criticism I ever have, you know, with the instructions from ICM and many others as well. ICM's clarity is very, very good, but they're not very descriptive, you know. And I realise it's difficult when you're producing one sheet and you want it to be for the world market, and here's a company amongst a number of them that are under a lot of difficulty, let's put it that way, that's putting it mildly. So I don't want to be too critical, but I just wish we could have a few words just saying, you know, instrumentation or floor. I mean, this bit here, it's not that clear. I think it's the... okay. The helicopter experts amongst you will know what this is then. So it is in fact, it's the controls, isn't it? What do we call it? The lever that... You see, I'm not a helicopter man, you can tell. It's on the tip of my tongue. I do know it, but it's not... Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that. You can shout out in the chat. I'm sure a lot of you, if any of you have flown a helicopter, you'll know what it is. It might come back to me. But this is the main controller that controls the attitude and the pitch of the chopper. Get to the chopper! And then you've got control sticks for both sides for the pilot and the co-pilot. So obviously if one's injured, the other one can take over, which is quite a good idea for a combat chopper. And you got the seats, which look a bit rudimentary, don't they? They're not. Remind me of those Wingnut Wings World War One seats, only worse, perhaps, in terms of the comfort. I mean, not the kit. Yeah, because there's not much of a seat there, really. And then you've got what looks suspiciously like a toilet, and I'm not joking. Look here, D. D, I think is a loo, because it's not the same as the other two seats at the base. Can you see what I mean? So I think that is a throne. Anyway, then you've got you're building up basically the back of this cockpit area, and then you've got the crew compartment directly behind it, because it's a bit like it's almost like a pickup truck, isn't it? As a design, you've got the pilot and co-pilot sit right at the front, then you've got this your support crew and your toilet directly behind. Although I think, saying that, I think normally they flew with a crew of 2, but I think you could have obviously you might have a weapons specialist or a mission specialist that they take with them in the back. And then you're bringing it all together over here, and we're going to bring the cockpit outer sides in and enclose this cockpit with the fuselage sides. Now there's a lot of windows here, a lot of windows. Hope those are going to be okay to put in. We shall see, we shall see. And then you're enclosing all these windows and the doors. And there is a lot of window sort of acreage, isn't there? Plenty of view out, that's for sure. Then you're building the back end of the helicopter, including the, looks like the rear rotor system, a base plate for it, and then we've got what looks like it's a winding winch. This is the main winch, if you can see that. The big powerful winch for lifting up heavy stuff. Very, very large and powerful one for sure. There it is. And then you're building up the main section of the floor. The winch is built into the floor, of course, as you can see. There. And bringing that down onto the internal sort of box structure. Bringing that down onto the main floor section here. And then you're building in all the different bulkheads as it goes along, strengthening bulkheads toward the rear. Then you've got your outer fuselage toward the tail, and the tail section going in there. Do the bottom first, then you do the top, the roof. And of course it's very shallow, because that's the nature of it. They call it the sky crane, didn't they? So it's just like a flying crane, really. So then you get your roof section coming in here to your cockpit section. And then we've got instrumentation, decal for the instrumentation. Where does that go then? That doesn't seem very clear to me. 36, F14, where does that go? 36. That has got to go inside. It doesn't show it. That's a bit confusing, isn't it? It's clearly a control panel with a load of levers. And I think this is operated out the back, where they start lowering things from the winch system. We'll come back to that, because it's clear. It doesn't tell you what happens to this assembly section. It doesn't give any clue. It's a bit confusing. And then anyway, we're going to build up the outer framework of the canopy, getting ready for the glass house to come in there at the bottom. In it goes. And then there's a couple of box sections. And then we've got all sorts of hooks and lights and antennas and things going on. Winching posts, support posts that go on the side, above where the winch section is, and then you've got the support arms for the landing gear and the gear itself here. And it's obviously a permanent gear; it's not retractable. So you got nose leg, and then you got your main gear sections being built up there. Repeated on the other side as well. Very clear. And then those legs are going on underneath. It looks like a praying mantis when it's up and running, this, doesn't it? Then we've got a couple of small parts that are just going underneath. Looks like they're antennas. Handrails, are they? Handrails. So yeah, you've got a lot of handrails here going on the side. Grab rails, it looks like. And then we've got various little plates going on, and more handrails. I think they're actually hydraulic lines in this case. Looks like a hydraulic line, doesn't it, that's going down to the gear. And then we've got the tail rotor assembly being built up here. The gearbox, I think it is, for the tail rotor. And again, more hydraulic lines over here for the gear on the starboard side. Various parts and support handrails that are going on the side of the tail. And then you've got the drive shaft and the cyclical gearbox drive system, because I think it works on a drive shaft from the motor. And you can see there's this drive shaft that then goes up to the tail itself for the tail rotor. And then we've got another couple of these box sections being built up here. More hydraulics going in on the side over here. And then the outer sort of aerodynamic fairings, if you will, for the landing gear going on there. Now we've got the main sort of drive shaft mechanism, and the gearbox, etc., that's going to go on for the main rotor blades that control the pitch, etc., for the blades. That goes on and goes on the top there. More little rails, more hydraulics, and more control arms that alter the pitch control rods. Lots of them. Very complicated, isn't it? Wow. There's a lot of, going to have to take your time with this kit. There's a lot of stages, up to 100 stages already. I can't believe it. And then you've got these, what looks like a control box that goes on the top. And there's also a bit of a fairing, a protective fairing that goes ahead of the base of the rotor system. And then you've got these, the drive shaft I mentioned. Very crude, isn't it? This is the drive shaft along here for the actual tail rotor, and there it is. You can see it in its entirety from the transfer box. Wow, incredible. And then we're going in here with like reducer gears, reducer gearbox from the main engine into the going over that prop shaft. We've got it looks like engine filtration system here, air filters. And we've got more sort of cooling systems, we've got oil tanks, and we've got the transfer box, it looks like here, that's going to drive the main rotor. So you're going to do it with a swash plate system. Lots of parts here. It's got a high part count. This, what was it, 630 parts? I'm not sure that I've actually reviewed a kit with that many parts before. I think that's a new record for me. So I'm just going to have a quick glass because the fly's trying to get my wine. Sorry about that. But yeah, just look at the number of steps and stages here. Lots of little parts. Cooling fans. You've got the like the turbo jet, isn't it? Effectively, it's not a turbo fan though, is it? And then you've got the exhausts going on here, very high powered fans blowing the exhaust out. And the engines don't look that huge, to be quite honest. They don't look that huge. Two of them though, so plenty of power obviously. They ultimately go on the top there. And then we've got what looks like these huge cooling radiators being assembled with filter cells on the front, huge filters to keep, especially in the hot weather, you got a lot of insects and things, so these filters are probably changed every few days, I would imagine, probably at least once, twice a week I think. And they go on the front, and that's basically for the air intake, so this is literally an air filter, almost like you get on a car really, isn't it? Not unlike it at all. Because you can see over here how it's ultimately fitted in right ahead of the engine intakes. Remarkable. And then you've got here, I do wish it would describe it more, especially with such a complex machine as this. We need descriptions really of what these parts are, just to understand it better, because that's what Tamiya would do, of course. But we've got here some, looks like hydraulic controls, And there it's a winch, in fact. You can actually see this is a winch. It's got a hook on the end. So there are several winches. There's winches at the front, winches at the back, winches on both sides, it looks like. Yep, and there they are again on the other side, on the port side. Winches, you've got handrails, more of the hydraulic lines, more handrails going all the way around the front of the aircraft. So that people can grab on if they need to, and easier to climb in and out of the cockpit. Then you've got your windscreen wipers, and then we have so many handrails. I can't believe how many handrails there are. I mean, it's just festooned in them really when it's finished. It's covered in rails. Easy to grab onto. Then you're building your tail plane, stabiliser plane at the back, which is just to stabilise the aerodynamics really. And then we get to the M-121 bomb. This is the real party piece of this kit really. This huge bomb, which is like the front of a tall boy. Because it was developed literally from the tall boy. They took the plans. I think the Americans copied it exactly. And then you've got this parachute system that goes, a huge, big parachute system that goes on the back. Because don't forget, this thing weighs 10,000 pounds. So it's kind of got the mother of all parachutes. It's almost an Apollo grade parachute, this. And then you've got this proboscis extension on the front, which is the thing that's, you've actually got the trigger fuse at the front. It triggers it as soon as it hits the ground. And the idea of this is just to give a space between the bomb and the ground of, say, 5 or 6 feet probably. Did it say 3 feet? I can't remember. And that's what that's all about. So it just gives it a little bit of distance between the ground, and it helps it to spread its blast outwards a bit more. So there you go. So that's going to be attached via this sort of a locking tow hook, like a hook system basically, and then it's got this sort of mechanism here that, like calipers, it reminds me of the Dam Busters bomb a little bit, with these sort of calipers at the side. As you can see, that goes in there underneath and gets fixed in. Then you've got your tail rotors coming in here, fixing into the tail, and then we get to the swash plate. This has got a lot of parts. I've got to warn you again, lots of little parts here. So there's going to be quite a lot of painting and quite fiddly work here, but that's the nature of this very big and complicated helicopter. So you've got your big swash plates, obviously they're going to take ultimately the blades, and you've got your balancer, your balance blades here, which is where they have these little different sheets of metal in effect that are bolted on, and they act like balance weights in different sizes, different thicknesses. And then you've ultimately got your top cap to secure the outer swash plate, and then you've got the rotors finally coming in here, and that's the last process really. And your rotors go onto the model thus. On it goes, and you have one mother of all helicopters. Look at that! And on the back we have got. Well, I think they're actually only offering. One scheme, in fact, but I don't think it matters, because I'm sure there weren't that many units operating them. That's probably why. Colour call-out's all very clear. What a remarkable machine, isn't it? What an absolute beast. I feel quite tired from that. It's how many stages was that? That was what was it? 140 stages or something? Did I count that many? No, more than that. 218 stages of construction. 640 parts. That's a lot of plastic. It's going to keep you busy. So, I'll try and whip through the plastic a bit quicker if I can, because otherwise we might be here forever, actually. This really is, it's like the mother of all kits, isn't it? I think we'll start with the clear parts first. I do like ICM the way that they do this, the resealable bags, so we can have a look at everything and then just seal it all up again at the end, which is nice. Now, I remember on what we were looking at the other week that was clear parts that weren't quite that impressive. I think it was the Ural truck, actually. Let's see what that is. That was an old tool. This is brand new tool, the very latest. Let's have a look at what we have here. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. Look at that. My word. Check this out. That's nice plastic. That's fantastic plastic, really. Pardon the pun. But look at it, it's actually formed very nicely as well. That's, yeah, there's a little distortion over on that side, I think. Maybe it's the same on both sides. It's a very difficult shape to actually form, of course, this complex curve, but I don't think we can complain about that. It's almost perfect, to be honest. And look at the clarity and the brightness of it all. Again, more complex curves here. And if we can get an idea of the clarity, it's very, very nice. Look at the door windows on the doors, look. Oh, that's absolutely stunning. That's some of the nicest clear parts I've seen for a long time. And you know, here we go. So these parts here, these windows, these are not much different from the size of the ones that are on the Ural truck, but look how much better these are. So that's about 20 years later tooling, and that is the effect. Isn't that gorgeous? That's some smashing clear parts. That's good as it gets, really. I think, you know, that's Tamiya standard, isn't it, really? Very, very good. Excellent. So, it's alright, I don't get to scratch it by getting it in there, then. Okay, there we are. That's a good start, I must say. Put that in there. Then we've got mother of all bombs, or rather the M-121, I should say, to be more accurate. Let's have a look at what we have here, because this is what differentiates this version of the kit, or one of the key differentiators anyway. That bomb, look at that. So it really does look like the front of a tall boy, doesn't it? Look at the size of it. Huge. Wow. Yeah, that is massive. Here's the parachute system, look. One that goes on the back. Isn't that nice? Here's the kind of proboscis at the front that gives it the spacing so that it detonates above the ground and not on it. Wow, I'm impressed. And it's got this nice typical ICM plastic that you know will take a wash well and take the paint well. It's a nice sort of feel to it. Very satin, very... It's not rough, it's not smooth, it's somewhere in between. It's got that sort of nice tactility, it's very receptive. I like it, I like it, I like it. That, you know, paint that up and you put your graffiti, bomb graffiti on it and you're away, aren't you? Fantastic. Right then. Right then. That's the bomb. Beautiful bomb, beautiful bomb. Right, now then. Now we get into a lot of plastic here, so I think we'll do this first. We'll do this first, just because I'll try not to be too long because we could be here for hours if I'm not careful. There's a lot of plastic here, I'm sure that we don't want to be too long. I'll try and be briefish. I think we've got a part off the sprue. Yes, we've got one of the intakes is off the sprue. The intakes are. Nicely figured, look at this. You can see the intake blades really well, can't you, there? That's nice, isn't it? Oh yeah. Very, very nice indeed. And then we have got the cockpit sides, and look at the detail here. I'm going to zoom out, it's so huge, massive. Look at that, look at the detail here. You've got recessed panel lines, you've got raised rivets. That's really nice. I'm going to go in closer so you can get a feel for the finesse of it, the detail of it. Look at that. Isn't that nice? It's got a beautiful feel to it. Feels like the real thing, you know. There's the front. Whoops, back a bit. There's the front. And then we've got the underside of the front cockpit area. Or is it the top side? I'm not sure. No, it's the top side actually. That's the top side. Tell me the V in it. Sorry I started sniffling. I was absolutely fine at the start of the video. It started to really rain heavily and we've got some quite a lot of I say really rain heavily, that's become normal here. Every day it's the same. Rain. We have been getting some sunshine, but it's just odd intermittent spells. Mostly we've had rain now for about 3 weeks. Since the start of July, basically. It's just rain. Right, so we've got a few sprues, I think, that are duplicates of each other. In fact, there are 1, 2, 3... Oh, okay. That makes it simple. There are 4 sprues there that are the same. So I'm going to replace that one in there, and we'll just look at one. One that has got the parts on it, in fact. But since one of them has lost that engine intake. That wants to go back because we've seen it. Mighty impressive though. I think we'll protect the big parts. Okay. So, this is going to be a real treat for you, I think. It will be if I can find the controls on my camera. Let's have a look. Now then, check this out. A lot of small parts here. Look at this, there's all sorts, handrails, there's pumps, you've got hooks, you've got looks like hinges, you've got part of the rotor mechanism there, you've got this seat which looks like the sort of seat you sit out at a concert and watch. Doesn't look like a helicopter seat to me, does it? Interesting. And then you've got your intake over here, which we've just seen, the one that fell off, obviously. Then we've got our landing gear, which looks really special, I've got to say. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? What a super bit of moulding that is. And then you've got some ducting there for the exhausts, and there's some gears, and then some of this sort of many parts of the engine, including the engine bell pieces here. So many parts. I mean, who knows what they are? It's hard to know, isn't it? There's so many parts, and you're thinking, good jeepers. It's a high part count, this kit. It's going to take you time. It's going to take you many months, I think, to build it. So we'll have a little zoom back. There we go. That's better. Pop that back in there, along with the parts on the drip. Oops. And then we've got another one that's a duplication, is it? Oh no, it's not. No, I'm wrong. It's just so many sprues. I mean, there's 4 sprues that are the same there. That's incredible. Look at this lot though. So we've got these drive shafts for the rotor, the rear rotor. We've got engine parts here. We've got the swash plate, the base of the swash plate mechanism. We've got, again, more drive shaft parts, more sort of cyclical gears parts here. Transfer box, again part of the swash plate system there. Look at that. That's lovely. And then we've got there's the instrumentation panel. Whoops. Find it and get it to you. There we are. Instrument panel. Wow. And there's that that V protector that goes on the top. Like that, I think. It just, I think it's there to deflect any incoming shots, basically, from ammunition. Yeah, lovely sprue. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at this wiring. Like a wiring loom, look. See that? Isn't that nice? That is impressive. That really is impressive. Oh, fantastic. Again, you've got these transfer boxes and housings. And look at all the rivets and the bolts on them. Superbly done, isn't it? Control panel. What a lovely sprue that was. That's fantastic. So, this is all the internal parts of the aircraft, isn't it, really? And then we've got one more. We've got just a huge number of fine parts here. Quite mind-boggling, frankly. And there's all sorts. There's pipes, there's hydraulic lines. You can see how they've got the part count up to 600 and odd parts now, can't you? Pretty clear where the parts are coming from. Is there too many, do you think? Maybe it's a bit off, could be a bit intimidating to certainly some models will be put off. I think maybe I'm one of them. But there's a lot to go at. It'll certainly keep you busy during the winter months if you want to hibernate away and build this. What a beautiful kit there. Look at the lack of flash and just the general moulding quality. It's so precise. And look at the fineness. Again, you've got all these little wires and ducting and hydraulic lines. Absolutely stellar, isn't it? Look at that. And this is Tamiya grade for sure. Oh, absolutely gorgeous, to be honest. So many little fans and parts of the mechanisms from the engine. It's mind-boggling, to be honest. Truly is mind-boggling. Zoom you out. And, oops. There we go. That's better. You see me now. Very, very impressive. Truly impressive stuff. Get it back in the bag, that'll be very impressive too. Doesn't want to go back in, we never do it. There we go. So, it feels already, and I've only seen half the kit, but it feels like quite a step forward for ICM this. It genuinely does feel like Tamiya grade to me. The quality of the moulding you've just seen there. Some fine stuff, isn't it? Now this bag is the more big chunky parts. So it's like things like rotors and bodywork and the sort of Tonka toys, sort of big boys toys part. So, oh! I feel this kit's going to get a high rating. I can feel it coming. Unless I see anything nasty, which seems unlikely. So what have we got here? Rotors. There's just a finesse to it all, you know. Yeah, look at the rotors, aren't they? Nice. I know there's some concerns about the Airfix Sea King because they had quite thin plastic, I think, for that the rotors on the Sea King. And of course they have to be thin because otherwise it wouldn't be scale-like. And this is where, in a way, you know, the quality of your plastic becomes king, because when you're moulding pieces like this, you know, getting it right can be really more to do with. You've already got great tooling, but it becomes more about the tensile strength of the plastic. Got to say, this looks pretty good. Got to say it does, considering how enormous they are. I mean, the huge blades, you know. Look at that. And you've got panel lines in the blades. I mean, that's just nice. There's three of those basically that's a repeat. So that's a very, very nice sort of 6 blades, isn't it? Then we've got a lot of these, as I mentioned, there's a lot of parts that are basically the floor and things like that. And then you've got these filters. I'll just zoom in on them because they've got some beautiful detail on them. These filters are very nice. Look at that. Oh yes, that's cool. And then you've got your engine bell here. And then you've got the top cap on top of the rotors there. And then you just basically got a lot of these huge parts are really the sides, aren't they? It's the shaped. I say sides. It's really just it's the crane element of it, isn't it? The bodywork, if you like. That's the top of the helicopter. Remarkable machine. I mean, they're just incredible things, really. Amazing that it can fly. Looks completely irrational, doesn't it? Illogical. Got some beautiful detail. Look at the vents that you can see underneath here. This is on the underside. That's nice. You might be able to hear the rain. It's now pelting down really heavy here, which they said it would. And then you've got the bulkhead over here, which looks really good. Whoops, turn it the way up so it makes it easier, I think. There you go. Look at that. That's nice. Fine detailing there. And then some more. This is on the roof of the helicopter, of course, where the actual engine goes in there. And this is where your filters go there and there. Look at the detail here, isn't it lovely? Recessed panel lines, you've got all the rivets. It feels really good, these rivets do. Absolutely superb. Gorgeous finish, such detail. And then over here you've got, this is the door section. I don't know if you made that out. This is the door section that has all the door with all the windows in it. The observation window at the back of the cabin. And then, yeah, these are again the bodywork basically. So I've got to zoom back because it's so huge. The size of this thing, 3/4 of a metre. It's more than that. It's 775, isn't it? It's huge, massive model. You're going to need a big cabinet, aren't you? Especially with those rotor blades. Oh, that's the problem. But anyway, look at that, all the beautiful figuring for all the rivets on the side. Oh, yes. That's been well done. Really, really exceptional. Look at the tail. Massive, isn't it? Absolutely crazy, really. What an amazing machine. Then you've got the internal sides, you know. Sorry, zoom out again. Yeah, the internal sides here. Very nice. And then I think this is the last sprue, in fact. So then you've got these are the aero legs I talked about. The aero fairings that go over the leg structure of the legs. Supports the gear, just to give it some aerodynamics. So you got a bit less riveting on this. And then you've got your top and bottom of the main body section. Fuselage, if you like. Nice, very, very nice. And again, we've got some vents here. It's lovely, isn't it? Really good. And then finally, you've got some of the parts. You've got your tail, your nose wheel here. It's split in half. It's in two parts, unfortunately. But the ICM's fit is pretty good. I've got to say, it's pretty excellent from my experience. And then you've just got that. There's the winch that we talked about. That's got the very powerful winch, which is quite a central part of the chopper, really. And that's it. There we have it. You think the Sea King was big? Get away! You knew I was going to top trump the Sea King with something. The mother of all choppers, yeah. But it's a big one, isn't it? It's a monster kit. How long will it take me to build this? I think the answer is many, many months, in truth. Many, many months. That would be the honest answer, because there's close to 700 parts, you know, it's getting on to 700, isn't it? There's a lot of, I think for me, there'd be a lot of painting. I think this is, in a way, this is a nightmare kit for me. I don't mean that it's a nightmare. But the way I go about my modelling, and somebody was asking me about this recently, and said, oh, you don't build that many there, do you? Which I don't. No, it's true. But there's a reason for that. It's, apart from other things like, you know, time, life getting in the way and all that stuff. So very printed. There's a crackly bag, isn't it? Apart from all those normal things, I am a slow builder. But I'm a slow builder because you can probably see the precision of what I do. It's not perfect, of course, but there is a general standard of precision that I won't allow to drop, and it makes me. It takes forever, you know, and that's the price I suppose that you pay really. If you want to get it spot on and be like Ron Dennis and all this stuff, you know, then you're going to be there forever building, especially a kit like this. It reminds me of that the mini base, was it mini base Sukhoi, the Su-33, the naval version of the flanker, which they did, and that did it have 800 parts or something. Oh, I absolutely winced when I saw that. Didn't do a review of it, of course, but because I knew there's no way I'd ever build that one. But of course, this kit was very kindly contributed by ICM. And as I've said before, and you've heard my reviews, that the fact that they are contributed by ICM does not affect my review. I can still sometimes be quite critical, as I was with the Ural truck, I think it was, because I think it was a bit of an older tool. But look at that, you end up with these two boxes, and then the outer box sort of sits on the top. It's the most unusual setup, this is. Look at that, weird. There you go, done. Now then, what's the verdict? Well, what do I not like? Frankly, the only thing, and it is the one only thing, it's just the instructions and the fact that there's a lot of complicated stuff going on in that aeroplane, helicopter, that I would like to have explained to me a little bit more in depth, and it's not there, is it? And this is not unique to ICM at all. It just makes it a bit of an uphill battle, especially when there's a kit with so many parts in it. Zillions of parts, you know, 636 parts. What did it say? Let's just check it again, because I keep bandying these numbers around. Okay, no, I exaggerated. It's only got 604 parts in it. Okay. I mean, I say to ICM and I say to all manufacturers that we could, especially something, as I say, it's very complicated as a concept, this aircraft. We'd like more information about it, because it's such an in-depth project to build it. I want to know what I'm building. That's the only criticism from me. It's got wonderful artwork. It's the bomb is, you know, you paint that up right, that's going to look amazing with those decals on it, decals, as well. This kit, to me, is a masterpiece, you know. That, I think, is the best kit I've reviewed so far this year. Can it win Kit of the Year at the end of the year? I don't know. There is something else coming from Japan that might beat it. I don't know. I might be disappointed. You never know what you're going to find when you open the box. And I'm always completely objective about it. But this kit really represents, it's brand new too. I say I'm one of the first in the country to get this in the UK. It feels like a step forward for ICM. It feels like the moulding, the fact they've moulded all those hundreds of parts, you know, 604 parts, and the moulding standard is absolutely out of this world almost, you know. If it had Tamiyar's logo on it, I wouldn't question it at all. In fact, it's better in some respects because it's a bit sharper. You know, Tamiyar, I'm the biggest fan, one of many. But the only thing with them is they can be a bit softly moulded. Well, that's not softly moulded, that's sharp as you like. So I almost want to give it 10 out of 10. I don't think I can, because it does hold it back. I think if I build this, I'm going to find it a little frustrating, because I don't know what all these parts are, what these assemblies are, and I really want to know. And it's not that big a deal for them to fix this in the future. I'm not criticising them today. We know the situation they're under, among with others in that country. And it's wonderful they can produce a kit like that. But please, in the future, could you think about adding a little detail, especially when you've got something so complicated, you know, and you need to know, what is it, a gearbox? What is it? There's so many assemblies and components that I'm none the wiser. But the plastic is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 on the plastic. Honestly, no reservations whatsoever. The artwork and the boxing is 10 out of 10. Just have a think about your instructions. So I'm going to give it, and I've never done this before, I'm going to give it 9.75 out of 10. So it's a 10, just with this reservation about the instructions. because that's how good it is. And that is the latest kit from Ukraine, from ICM, and it's an absolute stunner. It's an absolute stunner. £130, yes, 135. It's a lot of money, but you get a lot of kit. You spend £135 on that, you're going to be there for months, aren't you? It's good value, isn't it, if you think about it like that. 9.75 out of 10, which I've never awarded to any kit before, I don't think. I hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, please. Helps the channel, and it helps me move forward, obviously. But I've enjoyed that. It's a bit of a long road to get through it all, but what a joy, what a joy. And I'm not really a helicopter man, as I mentioned. Nothing against Airfix that I didn't go to their very kind invitation to see the unveiling of the Sea King. I was very grateful for the invite, but I'm not the biggest helicopter fan, but this is just a behemoth of a monster of a machine, and to have this bomb, it just adds a bit of, dare I say, glamour, is that the right word? But you know what I mean, it's kind of dynamic and it adds something, and it's an interesting backstory as well. So there we go. That, I'd say that's the best kit I've unboxed this year so far. But there are more to come, more to come. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it really interesting. I would have no reservation about recommending the kit to you whatsoever. So I'm sure there'll be more interesting things coming from ICM and others in the very near future. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because you'll find lots of other interesting stuff. And don't forget, those of you that are new subscribers, don't ask me if I build models. Go and have a look, you'll see plenty. And if you have subscribed, don't forget to ding the notification bell, because obviously then you'll get an early warning as soon as I upload a video, because there's still 1 or 2 people who've had, mainly it's been in the States and sort of New Zealand, Australia. I don't know why, I'm sure it's a YouTube issue, but anyway, some people are still not getting much early warning. I hope that you can join me for the next one. In the meantime, I hope you all take care of yourselves. Stay out of the heat, stay out of the rain in the case of the UK. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, look after yourselves. Thanks very much. Bye for now.